How's it going, guys? So, I'm definitely feeling better, and for those of you who don't know, my last tutorial, I was actually in a little bit of pain. Quite a bit, actually. But I'm definitely feeling a lot better today, so hopefully I'll have less errors in this video than I did in the last one. So, starting off, I believe it was Mad Gamer, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check. Yes, so Mad Gamer was telling me that originally he'd like to pick up a collectible item for the SCRAPS project, but he wasn't sure how to go about doing it. And so all I've done is I've just thrown, I made some real basic fuses right here, and right here is where I want them to go. Now you'll notice I already have these in place, and the reason for that is because we actually need to duplicate these. And these three right here we're going to call Fuse GB. So we're calling this Fuse GB because of the fact that we need it to be a ghost, basically. It needs to be something that Scraps can interact with. And we're going to be looking at the hubcap on how those are set up. So this way we'll have a better idea and understand how we need to set them up properly. So let's go ahead and get started on this. First thing I need to do is these fuses. We actually need to deactivate them. These right here, we're actually going to... Let me think about this. You know what? Let's go ahead and create a new script. And we'll call these Fuse Color Change. So the purpose of having this script is this way they'll kind of be there, but they'll be changing color, notifying the player that something's supposed to go here that's not already here. So let me go ahead and open up this script. And the first thing that we're going to do... Sorry, I'm also reading messages over here, so... Okay. So, the first thing we need to do is we need to set up a color. So let's go ahead and just type in... No, not color fuse change. Type in color start, and we'll say color... color dot red. I don't know. Oh wait, this needs to be lowercase. And just so, normally I type this out, but the reason why I'm not, because it's not communicating with Unity right now, so that's why I'm just copying this. But this is going to be called color end, and we'll say this one will be yellow. Doesn't really matter. You can use yeah, well, I know you can use blue, green, red. Trying to think of other ones. You can use different ones. It doesn't have to be the exact same of what I'm doing. I'm just doing this to kind of show you how you would set this up. So what we need to do is we actually need to specify a float time. So we'll say f time equals 0.7f. And the renderer will be just rend, and I'll explain all of this here in just a second. So we actually need to get the component of that, so we'll type in void start, and we're actually going to say rend equals get component. Let's see, we need to get the component type of renderer. And then the next thing we need is we need an update script. So we'll say void update, and then we need a float in here. Is what this will do. The lerp. There we go. We're actually going to do a lerp, and so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the mathf.pingpong, and this will jump back and forth. ping pong, and this will be time dot time, not f time. There we go. So this will be time dot time, and we're going to do it by f time. And so we will divide this by f time. And then the next thing, I don't think I need to do enter it twice. We'll say ren.material.color equals color.lerp. And this will be color start, color end, and we'll do it by the flerp. There we go. And you can change this float time. It doesn't have to be specific to this. You could actually make this a public variable. In fact, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to keep this on here, but I'm going to show you the advantage. Actually, I'll just tell you the advantage. The advantage of having this as a public variable is that if you don't like the way it looks as 0.7f, which is, 7/10 of a second, you can actually change it inside the inspector. So I'm going to go ahead and save this script. I also made another script here called FuseLink. I haven't done anything. As you can see, it's still just the basic setup. But we'll get into that here in just a second. And I apologize if you hear my dog barking, or dogs. So let's go ahead and make a material real quick. What is this? Okay, so color float. This is a float. Why is it? Huh. Well, now that is very interesting. Yeah, it's set right there, so... Give me 1 second to try and figure this out. So we should have time.time, comma f time, and that should be divided by f time, because the idea of this is I'll look at the time that it currently is, and I'll look at the f time, which in this case is 7/10 of a second. Let me see what happens if I get rid of the public float off of there. I doubt that's the issue. Yeah, I didn't think so. So I don't know why. So what we'll do is we'll just say f time. I doubt that's going to work. Huh. Now this is interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to close Visual Studio. I'm going to reopen it. And I'm going to see if maybe nope, because renderer is still not... sometimes I really hate Unity. I really do. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold off on that. I'm going to think about that just a little bit longer. See if I can come up with something that's, I don't know, actually... There we go. Oh, I see my issue now. So this is why I hate typing it out when I have autofill selected, because now you'll see that it actually works. Basically, is what was going on inside the script is I was actually trying to create is actually trying to say float and float, basically. So, because this right here said color end, it was looking at a float and it was trying to convert that into a lerp. And you can't do that. You have to do it with something that's specified. In this case, we're doing it with color. So, anyways, we're going to go ahead and create a new material. And I'm just going to call this Fuse Link Matte. And I'm going to assign it here, here, and here. I'm going to click on every one of these, and I'm actually going to add this color change to it. And so now if I hit play, in theory, these should actually, they should kind of like go back and forth between red and yellow. So, I mean, they definitely changed color. They just didn't do what I wanted it to do. But that's not an issue, because what we'll do is we'll come right back into this script, and we're going to change this back to a public. And the advantage of doing this is you can actually change each one of these individually. And I'll show you what I mean by that here in just a second. So right now this should just be set to 0.7. If we change this to a 5, 2, change this one to a 7 flat. It's definitely not doing what I want it to do. Definitely not doing what I want it to do. In fact, we can verify it, see what it looks like inside the game engine, although I doubt it's going to look any different, but it never hurts. Because for the script that I made a while back, I'm like, this is essentially what you should see. So I'm going to have to go in there and take a look at that and see if I can figure out what's going on, because that is definitely not doing what I want it to do. But it shouldn't be that hard to figure out. So, let me go back into this script. We have color red, color yellow. This is color start, color end, and that is math F, ping pong, F lerp. Oh, that's why. Because it's not lerping. There we go. Now when I hit play, you'll see that it's actually lerping. That's my bad, again. Doing this without it actually being connected to the Unity editor is actually very difficult. But as you can see now, it's working, so yay. Alright, so is what we need for the fuse link is we actually need it to, let me just get rid of all this crap. We'll need a public game object. I know we'll need a public game object. And we're going to call this, let's call this fuse link, and we'll call this fuse link GB. And you don't have to type it in exactly like this. You can call this whatever you want. The other option you have is public game object fuse link GB. Oops. The other option you have is you can actually separate them like that if you want. I just prefer to do it this way because it's less lines that you ultimately have to read. So I'm going to say attach fuse. So for the attach fuse, we'll have to change the game object. So fuse link dot set set active. It's going to be set to true. And actually, this will not work. And the reason why, because the name of this file, this public class is called FuseLink, and this is called FuseLink. So we're actually going to have to set this as like a G, and we'll type in G right here. and so this way these won't confuse it with the script itself. And the other one we can keep the same. Set active, false. Okay, so now that will change, and basically by changing is what I mean is like it'll switch from the highlighted one that's flashing to the one that will actually be present. So we actually need to call these scraps interactive. Object dot component scraps something. I think it's just interactive question mark. And let's see, because we're interacting with it, we don't want it to be enabled. That's what it is. So we'll say enabled equals false. And let me think. I feel like I'm missing something. And it should be fine, probably. So this is what we're going to put in place of. So these fuses, in fact, I'm also going to change the material of these, so this way I can easily see what they are. Okay, there we go. So all three of these will need to, all three of these will need to add on the fuse link, and then we have the GB right here. And then we have the regular fuse link. So what we need to do is we need to figure out which one of these go to what. So this one will be fuse. This one will be fuse GB. And then we'll have this one as the second one. So this one will be fuse GB, and then we'll have fuse. And then this one will be the same thing, and we already know which one it is. So the next thing we need to do is we actually need to remove this component, and we'll add a component, or actually, before I do that, let me go ahead and select all three of these. This way I can remove the mesh collider off of all of these. We're going to go to add component. We want a box collider on these. And so what we want to do is we actually want to change the center. And then we'll change the size. Let's see. No, that's X. So we need to... Oops. Z, Jimmy, Z. There we go. Alright, so now's what we want to do, is we want to go to Edit. We're going to move this point right about here. And we'll do the same thing with this one. We'll move it right about here. Now, the only reason why I'm doing it this way, because I want it to be where as long as you're right here inside this bounding box, go ahead and move it over. Oops. Yeah. Okay, so basically what I want is wherever you're standing inside this bounding box, it will, I'm trying to think how to explain this, it will basically create something that will inform the player that, yes, you have an interactive object that can take place here. If you want, you can actually separate these into different ones, so depending on which one you're standing in front of, that will determine which one you attach it to. But if we go up here, we have the forklift, and we have the hubcap check right here. So there's nothing under the ghost of that. Could have sworn there was, but maybe there's not. There's nothing under... Oh, wait, that's the wrong hubcap. Here we go. And there's nothing underneath that hubcap. So... Oh, okay, so it's the actual tire, but this will still be the same thing, but we need the... Okay, good, I did spell that right. Awesome. So we need the Scraps Interactive, and this is a hubcap check. Then we have hubcap check down here, which we basically just did that, so we're not worried about that. But we do need a Scraps Interactive. So this. Let me edit the script. Yeah, okay. So that's not a problem. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to attach the SCRAPS interactive script to these because we kind of need them. So we scroll down here, click on scripts, and we have SCRAPS interactive. And we just attach it in there. We'll hit plus. And normally I'd say just grab these and move them over, but the reason why we're not doing that is because each one of these is actually going to represent its self, basically. And so the other thing is that we may have to change these colliders for this to work. That's the other reason why I'm doing it. But for SCRAPS Interactive, it's not. It's fuse link. We're looking for attach fuse. There we go. So that is now working. So let's click on this one. This time we can just do this. And we'll say attach fuse. So that's done. For these, I do not know. So let's see what this hubcap contains. We'll click on this. I'll talk about the animator here in just a second. Right now we're more intrigued, I guess you would say, by the SCRAPS collectible and SCRAPS interactive. So we have a hubcap right here script, so I'm going to need to take a look at that. Or actually, that probably communicates back with the other thing, so that's probably not a big issue. But we do need SCRAPS collectible and we need SCRAPS interactive. Those are definitely the two things we will need. So let's go ahead and click on all three of these, and we're going to add in the SCRAPS interactable and SCRAPS collectible. And we'll say is key item on all three of these. And on interact, we can actually come back up here to the hubcap. Key item name, so we'll just call these fuses. That's easy. And then we have the hubcap script down here. And that's actually applying to itself. So that's actually going to be pretty easy. So what we'll do is we'll say fuse link easy. And then we're actually going to just take these game objects and attach them in here. And now the last thing we need to do is let's go ahead and come back in here and take a look at what they're setting up. So this is just simply set up off of the SCRAPS collectible up here. So after that we can come back down here and we can assign the script, which is collectibles right here. So we'll come down to collectible and we'll come up to collect. I believe it's collect. We'll verify that here in just a second. So after we have done that, second is up, and it is collectibles.collect. So now if I have done this right, then I should just be able to hit play. Ah, yes, the system down there. Okay, so right now, if I were to take this tire and pop it on here and I enter into the trigger, it said there must be a hubcap around here somewhere. We won't get that message because I never called that message. So if we... Okay, so that box is actually up too high, which that's the first thing. But let's go ahead and test this real quick. Okay, now if you know why this is not working, good job. I know why it's not working, and I feel like an idiot for doing this, but if you know why it's not working, then good job. So let's go ahead and fix these issues. To those of you who know why it's not working, good job. I mean, sincerely, good job. That was completely my screw-up. We need to actually remove the mesh collider. We're going to add a component, and let's go ahead and do... let's go ahead and just do a sphere collider, because why not? And then the next thing we need to do is we actually need to... I actually made it where I can just grab this wall or this panel and this electrical pipe. I can just bring these down. Okie dokie, those fuses are moving with it. I don't know why I have them as part of this, so I'm going to move those outside. And now I can click on these two and bring them straight down. So I'm going to move these right about here. That looks like I'll be within range of the player. And let's do this again. Oh, wait. No. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so we'll do the message system here in a second. I cannot remember what it is for the life of me. So now I should be able to... Okay, so now that's working. Now if I come in front of here, I should have an interactable script with this. So let's go ahead and look at the... fuse link, interactive, attach fuse. So that is all set. Wow. There we go. Now this will work. Okay. Not in as much pain, but I'm still making mistakes. Yay! So that's just a little lesson. As a game designer, you are going to run into things like this. It's going to happen. Don't get discouraged. Just look back over your work, try to figure it out. So now I have one fuse. If I put it in, that happens. And I was kind of wondering if that would happen or not. And the reason why that happens, because if you remember, I overlapped the triggers. So as a simple fix, for the most part, I was actually really curious if that was going to happen or not, and it did. But it's not really a big issue or anything like that. Basically, all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these two over here. I'm just going to move these out like so. So now I can just grab... I can grab this right here, and I need to grab this one. I'm just going to move this down right here. And I'll grab this one, and this one, and oops, and this one. I'm going to move it right here. So lastly, let me go ahead and select all three of these. We'll hit Edit Collider. And that one will be moved here. This one will be moved over here. This one... Ah, there we are. Now I can see what I'm doing. So yeah, I was actually really curious about that, just to see what happened. And also, this gives me another advantage for when I start working on my level. I will know what you cannot do with it. So as a game designer, experiment. Yeah, I think that'll be fine to have it that far out. If we need to widen them up, we can. That won't be an issue. Will not be an issue at all. But what we will want to do is we'll actually want to keep an eye on the game scene right here, and we'll need to see if the player interacts with any of that. And then after that, I will see if I can find the SCRAPS message system. So I'm just going to pick up one. I'm going to come over here. Let me try to stand right in the middle. Okay. So it looks like I can't do two of them at once, which that's good. That's actually what we want. Alright, so right here, I'm actually having an issue picking this up. So, probably need to change the... Yeah, because right now I'm just tapping, I'm spamming E right now, and nothing is happening. Let me see if I can pick this one up. Okay, so it's the same thing with that one. So let me go ahead and come back in here. We're going to come over here. We actually need to... Wait. There we go. First thing I want to do is let me go ahead and make these colliders a little bit larger. Something about like that. There we go. Wait, sorry about that. And I think that's should be all we need to do. We'll test that here in a second. Back in here, and we'll say fuse link. And I'm not going to have the SCRAPS interactive message pop out, so let me see. Object snapping. Here we go. We'll just copy that. We're going to cheat. Found a fuse link. Is this... No, this is snapping. So I'll have to say I need a fuse link. No, wait. This would be an else statement. Missing something. Oh, wow, Jimmy, you dumbass. Okay, so it's hard for it to... No, that's not what it is. Basically, I'm not calling the inventory system, and I need to call the inventory system. Otherwise, it can only look at one of these. Inventory. So we're going to be doing an instance of it. I know that much. What the hell was it? Simple setup. And I think it's the hubcap check. Can consume key item. Okay. There we go. That is what I needed. So we're going to say consume item, and the item name is fuse link, I think, and we're going to say 1. And so now it's running through the if statement, and now we can have this down here, Control C. This is going to be a swirly bracket. So this will close off this entire block right here, this block of code. And right here we can go ahead and add this, where he says, I need a fuse link, and up here I have installed a fuse link, and we'll hit save. And the next thing we need to do is make sure that this fuse link is the exact same as it is right here, and it is. Okay, awesome, opossum. Can consume item. Can consume key item, I think is what it said. Let's see, am I right? Come on, please be right. Key item, yes, yes, yes. And, alright. Sweet. Okay. So, let's go ahead and hit play. We'll go ahead and do this as another quick test, and we'll see if this works this time or not, which it should. Hoping it does. So let's test this out real quick. I don't know why I keep turning there when I can just go straight and walk across there. Alright, so that's working. Okay, it says I need a fuse link, so let's come over here. Okay, I don't know why I cannot interact with that one or that one. Let's see if I can... Okay, so I can pick that one up. So I think is what's going on is it's only registering 1, because whenever I install this, it says, yes, I've installed a fuse link. So I'm going to go and stop playing for a second. And let's go and click on fuse, and we have... So we should just be able to... That's what it is. So we need to come in here to collectible, and this will be collect. And then we'll come back up to here. We will drag this one over. collectible collect. So the reason why that didn't work, because even though we dragged them all over, basically is what was going on is it was only looking at this one. So we could have done the trigger on any one of these, and theoretically it would have just picked up that one. But that's why it wasn't working. It wasn't working the way we wanted it to. Now the other thing I noticed is whenever I was in front of this one, it had okay, so that's set correctly. And that is correct. That is correct. And that is correct. That is correct. And that is correct. Alright, awesome. So let's go back into the game. And hopefully now everything will work just fine. Yeah, see, I remember this time. Okay, so we got one. We'll come over here. Okay, that works. We'll collect another one. Oh yeah, see, look at this. I'm like right in the middle. Let me see if I can get right in the middle of the two. Yeah, so there's no way to actually stand in the very middle and get it to interact. So, there we go. Okay, so for some odd reason that one did not attach like it was supposed to. But figuring that out would be really simple. In fact, let me try this one more time, and I'm actually going to pick up a few of them and see what happens, because I want to see if it's actually like something that's going on with that, or if it's just bad luck. So I'm going to pick up all three of these. Pick up. There we go. Okay, I'm going to stand right in front of this one. So, yeah, he's definitely installing all three of them, but it's not doing what it's supposed to do. So that one's actually disabled, and this one just has a mesh collider. So that's actually a really interesting issue. It was this one that we had the issue with, so make sure that that's set to collision, or I mean as a trigger. And these are set correctly. And so the last thing I want to do is, let me go ahead and make sure that this is correct. And we'll go to, where are you at? Should be attach fuse link in here. Attach fuse, there we go. So let me go through these real quick, make sure that that one is set correctly. And this one is set correctly. And verify this one. So now when we hit play, we should, or should not have any more issues. Alright, let's test this one more time and see if it works. Come up to this one. There we go. So that is now working. Let me make sure I can attach it to the rest of these. Okay, there we go. So that's how you do your fuse links. And is what you can do is go ahead and just create a new script. This is going to be a C# script, and this is just going to be called fuse notification. So the idea of this script is we're going to say let me think about how I want to word this. Public fuse notification FN void start, and we're going to say FN equals FN dot get component of type fuse notification. So this way, every time one of these becomes active, it'll actually read itself. And so right here, we also need a private int num. Hey, you know what? We can do this on the start. It doesn't matter. Num. Or actually, we don't need that right there. We actually need to call the method we're going to be setting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say public void, let's just call this number check. And what we're going to say is, why is that not set properly? There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to say num plus plus. So we need to actually call number check if num equals 3. Nope, not fuse link. We want object snapping. So is what we're going to do is we're going to say power is on. So let's go ahead and save this, and we're going to attach these to the fuses that are inactive right now. There we go. And this was fuse notification. Now you'll notice that this has the fuse notification down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to click each individual game object. And normally, see, I don't know if I want to show you this way or not. I'm actually going to show you another way. So I'm actually going to create, not folder, create C# script, power on. So is what I'm actually going to do with this is I'm going to come back into, I'm going to go ahead and open up this script, but I'm also going to do something else. I want to show you the proper way of doing this because this isn't really proper. It's just not. So control, we're actually just going to call this power on. There we go. Power on. So we're calling this script right here basically. Control C, Control V. And we need to make sure that this is set to the same. I'm going to hit Control S. And is what's going to end up happening is we're going to say fn.numCheck. Control C. We will get rid of that. Control V, we're going to put that after. And is what this is going to do. Sorry, I'm like thinking of all sorts of different things on how I can do this. I definitely want to say number plus plus because now this is going to be set to 1. But the way I want to do this, I actually want these to call the power on script. And so the way I would do that would be void numcheck. Yes. So I'm going to just copy this. And this actually needs to be a public void, so this way it can be accessed by another script. And as what we'll do is we'll say num plus plus. This is where we'll actually have the part down here. Control C, Control V. So basically what's going to happen is each time you pop one of these fuses in, it's going to quote unquote power up, and then after it powers up, it's actually going to immediately look at what it needs to do as soon as the script starts, which in this case it will be it'll get the component type of power on, and then after that it will say do a number check. And so we come back to this script. I'll go ahead and save it, and I'll save this one as well. But then it'll come to this script and says, okay, so number check num plus plus. Now this one won't compile because we need private int num, and so now anytime that this equals 3 is going to give you this message. And right here you can say door is active, or lights are active, panels are active. So you can set this up any way you need to set this up. So let me come back in here and see if we get an error message, which I don't think we will. But for the power on, I'm just going to apply it to this pipe. Normally you would actually apply this to a door object or your light objects or whatever you're trying to apply to it. So that's the way that this works. And now we're going to click on, let's see, let me click back on this. This is electrical pipe. So we're going to click on all 3 of these, and I'm actually just going to drag electrical pipe over to wait a minute. It'd help if I select the right one. So now that I've selected the right one and I've dragged them all over here, I have them all 3 selected, which is good. And you can also do this as a debug.log message, just to verify that you are getting, you're getting a response from the script. So that's actually completely up to you, but we'll see it down there at the bottom of the screen here in just a second. Let me interact with these real quick, get a little bit closer, and you can always make these colliders, these triggers, larger, and that will kind of like help some. So now when I attach this, we should see power is on, and we do, as you can see down there. So that's how you'd set up something like that, to actually power up something. But you can do it. You can do it several ways. I could actually set that script up where it'll actually turn on that wind turbine if I chose to, or open up my door over there. There are several ways you can do it. You're not just stuck to one way and one way only. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the tutorial right here. If you have any other questions or anything like that, please message me on here, and I shall talk to y'all later.